Far beyond the shining stars of the Milky Way in a quiet corner of the galaxy, a small planet called Erythra faced a nightmare. Erythra was home to the Velari, a peaceful and gentle race with slender bodies and large shining eyes. They lived in harmony with their world, which was rich in beautiful forests, glowing rivers, and floating crystal cities. But now their home was dying. Dark shadows moved across Erythra's skies. Giant creatures from the depths of space had come to destroy everything. These invaders were unlike anything the Velari had ever seen. Their ships were black and twisted, shaped like sharp claws and teeth. Their armies were cruel and strong, crushing forests and smashing cities. The Velari had never fought before. They were scholars, artists, and scientists. But now they had no choice. Deep inside their last remaining city, the Velari leaders gathered. The High Council was small, just 5 wise elders, but they carried the hopes of their entire race. Their leader, a tall Velari named Sarine, stared at the screens showing the destruction. Her voice trembled, but she spoke with quiet strength. "We cannot survive this war alone," Sarine said. "Our weapons are weak, our people are dying. We must ask for help. We must send a call beyond our stars," the council agreed. They prepared a message, a plea for aid that would travel faster than any ship. They called it the SOS, a signal that said, "Help us. We are lost." But sending the SOS was not easy. The Velari technology was advanced, but their message had to cross many light years of empty space. It might take years for anyone to hear it, and if it did, who would come? Many light years away, on a blue and green world called Earth, people looked up at the stars with hope and curiosity. Humans had always dreamed of the stars, of meeting other races. Over centuries, humanity had grown stronger and braver. Earth's military fleet, known across space as the Deathworlders, was famous. They had survived wars on hostile planets where no one else could live. The Deathworlders were humans trained to fight in the toughest conditions. They had thick skin, strong bodies, and minds sharp as blades. Their ships were powerful, armed with the latest weapons. They were known to be fearless and clever. Some feared them. Others admired them. On Earth, in a large space command center called the Star Bridge, alarms suddenly blared. A bright red light flashed across the screen. The crew rushed to their stations. "Sir, we have received an SOS signal from the Velari system," said Lieutenant Mira, her voice steady but urgent. Commander Rylan, the leader of the Deathworlders' fleet, looked up from his console. His face was serious. "The Velari? That's a quiet system. No known threats there." Mira nodded. "Yes, sir. But the signal is clear. They are under attack and need immediate assistance." Rylan's eyes narrowed. "Prepare the fleet. We leave in 30 minutes. Back on Erythra, the Velari waited anxiously. The SOS had been sent, but they did not know if anyone would come. Their cities burned, their people hid in caves and shelters. Sarine stood on the balcony of the council tower, looking at the stars with hope in her heart. Suddenly, distant lights appeared in the sky, ships arriving faster than any the Velari had ever seen. These ships were large, strong, and covered with armor. They looked like metal giants moving through the darkness. The Velari watched in awe and fear. The humans had come. Commander Rylan stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Iron Hawk. He was a tall man with a strong jaw and eyes that had seen many battles. Around him, his crew worked quickly and efficiently. "We are entering the Velari system," Rylan said. "Scan for enemy activity. We need to know what we are up against." The ship's sensors beeped, showing images of the enemy forces. The invaders were massive creatures, with weapons that fired dark energy. Their ships swarmed around the Velari cities like angry wasps. Lieutenant Mira pointed to the screen. "Sir, their technology is dangerous. They have destroyed entire planets before." Rylan nodded. "Then we fight with everything we have. The Velari need us." The humans made their first move. The Deathworlders' fleet formed a shield around the remaining Velari cities, protecting the innocent people below. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans moved quickly and decisively. They did not hesitate. They were ready for war. But this was not just a fight of weapons. It was a fight of wills. Sarine met with the human commander in a temporary command center. They talked about the enemy, about their weaknesses, and about hope. The humans listened carefully and shared their knowledge of battle. "You have courage," Rylan said, "but you need to learn how to fight back." Sarine nodded. "We have no choice." The humans began training the Velari. They taught them to use new weapons, how to defend their cities, and how to think like warriors. It was hard for the Villari, who had lived peaceful lives, but they were determined. Night after night, the battles continued. The sky lit up with explosions. The ground shook with the footsteps of invaders. But the Villari, now fighting alongside the Deathworlders, began to hold their ground. Commander Rylan watched as his crew worked without rest. The humans were strong, but they also cared. They helped the wounded, built defenses, and never lost hope. One evening, as the stars glowed softly, Rylan looked out from the bridge. He thought about Earth, about the long journey they had made, and about the fragile planet they had come to save. "We will not let them fall," he said quietly, "not while we still breathe." Far from the battle, across the dark space, other species watched. The Deathworlders' fleet was a signal itself, a warning and a promise. Humanity was not just a fighter. They were protectors. They were the hope in the darkness, and this was only the beginning. The arrival of the human fleet was unlike anything the Villari had ever seen. As the massive ships glided into the sky above their battered cities, the Villari people gathered to watch in silence. They had never witnessed such strength and power before. The ships were huge, with shining metal hulls, sharp edges, and glowing blue engines that pulsed with energy. They moved with purpose and confidence. Many Villari whispered among themselves. Some were hopeful, believing the humans were their saviors. Others were scared, unsure if these strangers would bring peace or more destruction. Commander Rylan stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Iron Hawk. His face was calm but focused. Beside him was Lieutenant Mira, who monitored the communication channels closely. "Commander," Mira said, "we are receiving messages from the Villari High Council. They want to meet." Rylan nodded. "Prepare a shuttle. I will meet their leaders. We must build trust." The shuttle descended through Erythra's broken atmosphere, landing in a large clearing near the council tower. Sareen, the Villari leader, awaited them with her 4 council members. The humans and aliens looked at each other carefully, each curious about the other's nature. Sarian stepped forward. "Commander Rylan, your arrival brings us hope." "We thank you for coming." Rylan bowed slightly. "We received your call for help. We are here to fight with you, not just for you." The Villari eyes widened. This was unexpected. Most races sent aid but stayed distant. Humans came to stand side by side. The council invited the humans inside. Together they shared maps and reports. The Villari described the enemy known as the Grath, a fierce and savage race that consumed worlds without mercy. Sarian said, "Our weapons are weak. We have no chance without help." Rylan replied, "Then we will teach you to fight, and we will lead our fleet to protect your home." Back on the battlefield, the Deathworlders began to deploy advanced defense systems. Huge energy shields rose around the cities, blocking enemy fire. Human engineers worked with Villari technicians, combining their knowledge to strengthen these barriers. The Villari watched with amazement as humans moved quickly and efficiently. They worked day and night, not stopping for rest. Their determination inspired the alien defenders. Captain Jara, a young Villari warrior, trained under human instructors. She had never held a weapon before. Now she learned how to handle rifles, how to move silently, and how to think like a soldier. "It feels strange," she admitted to her human trainer, "Sergeant Mason, and to think about fighting when I used to think only about peace." Mason smiled. "Sometimes to protect peace we must be strong enough to fight." Jara nodded, gripping her weapon tighter. She was ready to defend her home. Meanwhile, the Grath launched another attack. Their ships poured from the dark corners of space, crashing into the Villari defenses with fury. The battle was fierce and chaotic, but the Deathworlders' fleet was ready. Their ships fired powerful energy blasts, destroying enemy vessels before they could reach the planet. Their fighters weaved through the sky with speed and skill, striking the invaders at weak points. On the ground, human and Villari soldiers fought side by side. The humans' armor protected them from heavy blows while their weapons pierced through the Grath's thick hides. The Villari, agile and fast, used their knowledge of the forest to ambush enemies. Together they slowed the Grath's advance. The Villari people began to hope. They saw that with the humans, survival was possible. Yet the cost was high. Many brave warriors fell in battle. Cities still burned. The enemy was relentless. In the war room, Commander Rylan studied the battle reports. His face was grim. "These creatures will not stop," he said. "We must strike deeper into their forces. We need to understand what drives them." Serene agreed. The Grath are not just invaders. They are hunters. They destroy to survive, Rylan frowned. Then we need to find their source, their command center. To do this, the humans and Valari planned a dangerous mission. A small team would sneak behind enemy lines to find the Grath's command ship, a massive fortress hidden in an asteroid belt nearby. Captain Jara volunteered. I know these lands. I can lead the way, Rylan agreed. You will have a team of our best soldiers. Your mission is critical. The team prepared with care. They studied maps, gathered supplies, and said goodbye to their families. Jara looked at the stars one last time before the mission began. For Erythra, she whispered. As the Deathworlder's fleet held the front lines, Jara's team moved through the dark space, avoiding enemy patrols. They used stealth technology, moving silently and unseen. Finally, they reached the asteroid belt. Hidden among the rocks was the Grath's command ship, a dark, towering structure with sharp edges and glowing red lights. Inside, the team fought their way through fierce guards. They discovered that the Grath were controlled by a central intelligence, a massive creature connected to the ship's systems. Destroying it would break the enemy's coordination. With bravery and skill, the team planted explosives and escaped just as the ship exploded in a blinding flash. The explosion sent shockwaves through the Grath forces. Confused and leaderless, their attacks faltered. The Deathworlders seized the moment to push forward. Back on Erythra, the Valari cheered as human ships cleared the skies. The tide of battle was turning. Commander Rylan contacted Sareen. Your people fought with great courage. Together we will win this war. Sareen smiled, hope shining in her eyes. Thank you, Deathworlders. You are more than warriors. You are friends. The arrival of the Deathworlders changed everything. They were more than a fleet, they were a symbol of hope and strength. The Valari learned new ways to fight and survive. The humans saw the beauty and bravery of an alien world worth saving, but both knew the war was far from over. The Grath were dangerous and would return. For now there was peace in the stars. But the battle for Erythra had only just begun. The quiet days after the explosion of the Grath's command ship brought a brief moment of relief to Erythra. The skies were clear, and the burning cities began to heal. The Valari and the Deathworlders worked side by side, rebuilding walls and tending to the wounded, but the war was far from over. Commander Rylan sat at the head of a large table inside the Starbridge on Earth. He studied a holographic map of the Erythra system, where blinking red dots marked enemy movements. We delayed them, he said, but the Grath will return, stronger, faster, and angrier. Lieutenant Mira, who stood nearby, nodded. Their forces are regrouping beyond the nebula belt. We need to find out more about them before they strike again. Rylan tapped his fingers on the table. We need more information. We need to know exactly who we are fighting. Back on Erythra, the Valari had their own questions. Serene met with her council in the high tower of their capital. What do we truly know about the Grath? She asked. One of the elders, an ancient scholar named Varen, spoke softly. They are not just invaders. They are a race built for destruction. Their homeworld was destroyed long ago, and they travel the stars searching for new worlds to conquer. Sarian frowned. Why destroy others? Is there no hope for peace? Varen shook his head. The Grath have lost their compassion. They are hunters, and their hunger can only be stopped by strength. Meanwhile, the Deathworlders sent a special research team to study the Grath. Scientists and soldiers worked together to capture live enemies during battles. They studied their biology, their weapons, and their behavior. Captain Jara, the brave Valari warrior, joined the research team. She watched as the humans examined a captured Grath warrior. The creature was terrifying. It was taller than a human, with thick black skin and sharp claws. Its eyes glowed red, and its voice was a low growl. But when the scientists studied it closely, they saw signs of pain and fear. Dr. Kellen, the lead human scientist, explained, the Grath are not born cruel. They are shaped by their environment, a harsh world where only the strongest survive. Their hunger and violence are survival traits. Jara felt a pang of sadness. Can they change? Kellen shook his head slowly. It's hard to say, but understanding them helps us find better ways to fight and maybe someday find peace. As the research continued, the humans and Valari worked on new tactics. They tested different weapons and strategies, learning to use the enemy's weaknesses against them. Commander Rylan organized training sessions for both human and Valari soldiers. The Valari, who once knew only peace, were becoming fierce warriors. Captain Jara led many of the exercises, her confidence growing with each battle. One evening, during a break from training, Jara and Sergeant Mason talked about the war. "Do you think the Grath can be stopped?" Jara asked. Mason looked at the stars. "We can stop them if we fight smart and never give up. But the biggest weapon is not our guns, it's our spirit. Our will to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Jara nodded, feeling a new strength inside her. Suddenly, scouts brought urgent news. The Grath were preparing for a massive attack, gathering their forces near a giant space station known as the Black Maw. This station was a dark fortress built on the edge of a dangerous asteroid field. It was the heart of the Grath's power. "We cannot let them control the Black Maw," Commander Ryland said. "If they do, this war will be lost." Plans were quickly made. The Deathworlders and Valari would launch a daring strike to destroy the station before the enemy could attack. The battle for the Black Maw was unlike any before. The station was protected by thick shields and a swarm of enemy fighters. The Deathworlders' fleet approached with caution, their ships moving in formation like a sharp blade cutting through darkness. Lieutenant Mira commanded the fighter squadron. Her small ships darted between asteroids, dodging enemy fire with skill and speed. She led her pilots in a dance of danger, striking and retreating, wearing down the Grath defenses. On the ground, a special team, including Captain Jara, prepared to board the station. They moved in stealthily, using special suits to blend with the shadows. Inside the Black Maw, the darkness was complete. The walls were cold metal, and eerie red lights flickered in the corridors. The Grath guards roamed, fierce and alert. Jara's team moved carefully, disabling security systems and avoiding patrols. Their goal was the station's core, a massive reactor powering the shields and weapons. The closer they got, the stronger the enemy's resistance became. Grath warriors attacked in waves, their growls echoing through the halls. Jara fought bravely, her training and courage guiding her. Her team pushed forward despite wounds and exhaustion. At last they reached the core room. The reactor pulsed with dangerous energy. "We must destroy it," Jara said firmly. "Set the charges quickly." Explosives were placed around the reactor. The team raced back through the station as alarms blared and explosions shook the walls. They barely escaped before the core exploded in a blinding flash. The Black Maw's shields fell and the station began to collapse. Outside, the Deathworlders' fleet took advantage of the chaos. Their ships fired with renewed fury, destroying the remaining enemy fighters. The Grath, now leaderless and confused, began to retreat. Commander Ryland watched the battle from his ship. "This is our chance. Push them back. Protect Erythra." The Valari cities cheered as the enemy ships fled the system. The war was not over, but today was a victory. Back on Erythra, Sarian met with Commander Ryland once more. "You have shown us great strength and courage," she said. "With you, we can face the darkness," Ryland smiled. "Together, we are stronger. This war is about more than survival. It is about hope." The Valari and Deathworlders began to build a new future, one where peace could grow from the lessons of war. But even as they celebrated, the stars beyond Erythra whispered a warning. The Grath would return, and when they did, the true test of strength and spirit would begin. The victory at the Black Maw was a shining moment in the long, dark war. The Grath were pushed back, their forces scattered and disorganized. For the first time since the invasion began, the people of Erythra felt a spark of hope. But Commander Ryland knew this was just the beginning of a larger fight. The Grath were cunning and brutal, and they would not give up easily. In the Starbridge command room aboard the Iron Hawk, Ryland addressed his officers, and the Valari leaders gathered around a glowing map of the Erythra system. The Black Maw was their heart. "But it's not the whole enemy," he said. "They will regroup and strike harder. We must prepare for the final battle." Sarian, the Valari leader, listened carefully. "Our people have learned much from you, Commander." "We stand ready," Ryland nodded. "Good. Then it's time to turn the tide." The Deathworlders began to organize a new plan, a bold attack to take the fight to the Grath homeworld itself. The Grath had a secret planet, hidden in a distant system, where their remaining forces gathered. It was a harsh world, full of dangerous terrain and fierce storms. No one had ever dared to land there, but if the Deathworlders could strike there, they could break the enemy's spirit and end the war. Captain Jara and her team trained harder than ever. They knew the risks. This mission was dangerous, maybe deadly, but they were ready to fight for their world, their families, and their future. Meanwhile, the Villari cities were rebuilding. The forests grew green again, and the rivers sparkled under twin moons. Human engineers helped repair buildings and build new defenses. Jara walked through a quiet street in the capital city. Children played in the sunlight, and elders smiled as they watched. "It's strange," she said to Sergeant Mason, "to see peace after so much pain." Mason nodded. "War changes us, but hope heals. We fight so moments like this can last." Jara smiled, feeling the truth in his words. The Deathworlder's fleet prepared for the journey to the Grath homeworld. Ships loaded with soldiers, weapons, and supplies gathered near Erythra's orbit. Commander Ryland stood before his crew, giving a speech that filled the room with determination. "We fight not just to survive, but to protect every innocent life in this galaxy. We are the shield for those who cannot defend themselves. We are the Deathworlders, and we will not fail." Cheers filled the room. The fleet launched into space, heading toward the unknown. The journey was long and tense. Scouts moved ahead to clear the path. The fleet stayed alert, ready for ambushes. When they reached the Grath home system, dark clouds covered the planets. The main planet, Grathos, was a world of sharp mountains, swirling storms, and rivers of molten rock. Landing would be difficult. Commander Ryland chose a hidden valley far from enemy patrols for the landing zone. Captain Jara's team led the first wave down to the planet's surface. As the doors opened, hot winds and the smell of sulfur greeted them. The ground shook beneath their feet. "This place is a death world," Jara said quietly. "Harsh and unforgiving." The soldiers set up camp quickly. Their mission was clear: find the Grath stronghold and destroy it. Moving carefully through rocky canyons and dark forests, the team avoided enemy patrols and traps. They encountered strange creatures adapted to the harsh world, some dangerous, others curious. At night, the sky was filled with lightning storms, painting the dark clouds with fierce light. The team huddled together, sharing stories and keeping watch. Despite the danger, there was a growing bond between the humans and Villari soldiers. They learned each other's languages and cultures. Jara shared stories of her peaceful home, and Mason told tales of Earth's distant blue seas. This unity gave them strength. One day, scouts returned with news. The Grath stronghold was nearby, a massive fortress built into the side of a volcano. "This is where the enemy leader waits," the scout said. "Destroying it will break their will." The team planned the attack carefully. They would strike at dawn, when the enemy was least prepared. The battle at the volcano fortress was fierce. Grath warriors poured out in waves, their claws and weapons cutting through the air. Jara led her squad with courage and skill. They used new tactics learned from the Deathworlders: ambushes, traps, and coordinated strikes. Explosions shook the ground as the team planted charges around the fortress walls. The enemy fought back fiercely, but the humans and Villari pressed on. Inside the fortress, Commander Ryland and a special team confronted the Grath leader, a massive, terrifying creature with glowing eyes and sharp claws. The leader roared, a sound that shook the fortress walls. "We end this now," Ryland said firmly. The battle was brutal, but Ryland's team fought with determination. Using their training and teamwork, they defeated the Grath leader. With the leader gone, the fortress began to collapse. The team raced out just before the explosion destroyed it completely. Outside, the Deathworlder's fleet bombarded the remaining enemy forces, preventing them from regrouping. The war was turning. Back on Erythra, the Villari celebrated the news of the victory. Sarian stood before her people, her voice strong and proud. "Today we have shown that together, we are unstoppable. The Deathworlders did not come just to fight. They came to stand with us. We will build a future of peace protected by strength." Commander Ryland returned to Earth in the Starbridge, his heart heavy with the cost of war but hopeful for what lay ahead. He spoke to his officers. "This victory is important, but the galaxy is vast. There will always be threats. We must stay vigilant, stay united, and keep fighting for the future we believe in." The story of the Deathworlders and the Villari was far from over. Together they had faced darkness and won battles thought impossible. But the galaxy watched and waited. The true test of courage, loyalty, and strength was still to come, and humanity, the Deathworlders, would be ready. The war had been long and hard, stretching across stars and worlds. The Deathworlders and Villari had fought bravely, facing dangers most could not imagine. Yet as the dust settled on the scorched battlefields, a new hope was rising, one that promised a future beyond war. Commander Ryland stood on the bridge of the Iron Hawk, gazing at the glowing blue planet below, Erythra. The scars of war were still visible, but so was the promise of healing. Cities were being rebuilt, forests regrowing, and rivers running clear once more. Beside him stood Captain Jara, her eyes reflecting both the pain of battle and the strength of survival. "We have done what many thought impossible," she said softly. "We saved this world," Ryland smiled. "Not just saved. We changed the course of history." The victory over the Grath homeworld had shattered the enemy's power. Without their leader and fortress, the Grath forces scattered into space. Their threat diminished but not erased. The Deathworlders and Villari remained vigilant, patrolling space and protecting Erythra from any returning dangers. Sarien, the Villari leader, had formed a council with representatives from both species. Their goal was clear: to rebuild their world and ensure peace for generations to come. In the months that followed, humans and Villari worked together more closely than ever before. Trade routes opened between their worlds, and shared technology helped restore Erythra's damaged environment. Scientists from both species collaborated on new energy sources that could power cities without pollution. Farmers learned new ways to grow food in harsh climates. Teachers exchanged knowledge to build better futures for their children. The partnership was a true union, built on trust and respect. Despite the peace, some challenges remained. The memories of war ran deep. Many had lost family and friends. Some soldiers struggled to adjust to life without constant danger. Captain Jara held meetings with both human and Villari veterans. Together they shared their stories, their fears, and their hopes. "We fought together," Jara said one evening, "and now we must heal together. We are stronger not because we never fell, but because we stood back up." Her words inspired many. Slowly, wounds of body and spirit began to mend. Commander Ryland received a message from Earth's leaders. They praised the success on Erythra but reminded him that the galaxy was vast, with many unknown threats. "We must remain united," the message said. "This alliance between humans and aliens can be a beacon of hope for others," Ryland agreed. "We will protect not just Erythra, but all who seek peace." One day, as Jara walked through a rebuilt park in the capital city, she noticed children playing under the twin moons. Their laughter was light and free, a sound she had longed to hear. She sat beside an elderly Villari woman who smiled warmly. "These children will know a better world," the woman said. "Because of your courage, Captain." Jara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "We fought for this moment. We will protect it." Back on the Iron Hawk, Ryland prepared a new mission, one that would explore nearby star systems and build alliances with other species. He gathered his officers. "Our victory here is a start, but peace requires effort. We must reach out, learn from others, and stand ready to defend the future." Lieutenant Mira spoke next. "I have already sent messages to neighboring worlds. Many want to join us." The crew cheered softly. The idea of a united galaxy was no longer just a dream. Months later, ambassadors from several new worlds arrived on Erythra. Together with humans and Villari, they formed the Galactic Alliance, a group dedicated to peace, cooperation, and defense against common threats. Sarien stood at the front of the council chamber as the new members signed the alliance treaty. "This is the dawn of a new era," she declared. "We are no longer alone. Together we will protect the stars." Despite this hopeful future, Jara never forgot the lessons of war. She trained new soldiers in the ways of honor and courage. She taught them that strength was not only about weapons, but about heart and will. One day, she stood with a group of young recruits watching the sun rise over the mountains. "Remember," she told them, "our strength comes from standing together. We fight to protect life, not destroy it. That is what makes us truly strong." Commander Ryland returned to Earth with stories of heroism and unity. He spoke to crowds, inspiring people to look beyond their differences and work together. "The stars are wide and full of mysteries," he said, "but with courage and friendship we can face whatever comes." Years passed, and the bond between humans, Valari, and their new allies grew stronger. Trade flourished, culture blossomed, and peace settled like a gentle breeze across many worlds. Jara and Rylan often met to reflect on their journey. They knew challenges would come again, but they also knew they were not alone. Together, they had turned the tide against darkness. Together, they had built a future worth fighting for, and so, under shining stars and twin moons, a new chapter began, one of hope, unity, and endless possibilities. The Deathworlders had arrived not just to fight, but to protect, to teach, and to inspire. For in the vast universe, when strength meets courage and friendship, humanity's story was truly HFY, humanity fighting for a better tomorrow.